All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Martha Hoy, who is an author, nurse, and speaker. So, Martha, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And we like to jump right in. So, if you could start with just telling us a little bit about yourself, some of the things that you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Oh, well, fun. I love to travel. And I like to eat. Pizza, Coca-Cola is my favorite. That's pretty well known. And I'm an author. As I said, I've written 2 books about my life, Lead with Your Heart and Enjoy the Journey. And I'm also a founder of a charitable organization that helps orphans in Uganda, a country in East Africa.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love it. And tell us a little bit about your motivation and story for writing those books and starting the charitable organization.
Well, the motivation was I was in a really, really terrible car accident in which 3 people died. I had 15 surgeries. It took me a year to recover. And I was in an abusive marriage. And I turned it all around. 2 orphans from Uganda actually saved my life in 2018 from that abusive marriage. So when that happened, I decided to write the books in order to help other people as a way to tell my story. I thought other people might connect with me in some way. Something that I had been through along the way, they could probably understand and maybe learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the reason that I started the charitable foundation was the 2 young men that saved my life were from a place called Malamu Children's Village in Kampala, Uganda. So I made it my mission to find meaning within the things that I went through and to give back to that orphanage and to give back to the children there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Tell us a little bit more about that year after the car crash and kind of what pushed you through that recovery process, and when it started getting hard, like
Well,
what
sure. That little story sounds easy, but it wasn't. Well, I was in a hospital bed and the only thing that I could see was the ceiling. That's it. I couldn't move. I was a young woman. I had, what felt like, a bright future ahead of me. And then all of a sudden I couldn't move. I couldn't do for myself. Everything had changed. So I had a friend who was quite a bit unconventional. And she came to my bedside and she looked at me and she said, "Martha, I can see one of 2 things happening here. Either you're going to lay here and play the victim, and this is all you're going to do with it, or you're going to do something with it." She said, "I'm going to send you a book." Okay. So she sent me a book. And that book was by Viktor Frankl, and it was called Man's Search for Meaning. And you probably read it. It's very, very popular. A gentleman who had lived through the Holocaust, and not only did he survive, but he ended up thriving afterwards and helping a lot of people. So that was sort of when, after I read this book and my friend kept calling me, that was sort of when, when times got tough, I just kept thinking, what am I complaining about? Look what Dr. Frankl went through. You could push through this. You could do this. If it's been done before, I can do it too. So that's sort of, I always say the car accident was sort of the catalyst that pushed me along, that changed my perception in life.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love that. And Viktor Frankl's book has changed many, many lives.
Many lives. Yes.
Yes, that story is, when you're just going through your day-to-day life, unreal to think about that. Not just Viktor Frankl going through that, but like so many people went through that, and so many people's daily life. So I'm glad that you read that book, and I'm glad you came out on the other side of that car accident. Tell us a little bit more about the 2 boys that helped you get out of the abusive marriage and what that process was like.
Well, their names, Ivan and Jeffrey. Ivan had been adopted here to the United States by my friend named Tracy, who lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And when I was going through all these difficult things, with this recovery, I mean, I had 15 surgeries, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis during this and everything was going wrong. My marriage had become abusive. She said, Martha, what a better way to, help it's to get out of your own problems and help someone. So that stuck with me, and I'd always, because I'm a nurse, so that I've always kind of been the helper. So I decided to sponsor Jeffrey, that's Ivan's brother, in Uganda. And so that's how the connection to Uganda began. I decided that I was going to put Jeffrey through school. And when I told him that I would put him through school, I asked him to do one thing for me afterwards, is to pay it forward in some way. Take the kind act that I had done for him and then pay it forward. So what Jeffrey ended up doing is he actually started a charitable foundation in Uganda called Ambuka Foundation Africa to help the orphans when they're coming out of the orphanage, to help them get job skills.
Gotcha. I love that. One more time on the name of that.
Ambuka Foundation Africa. It's actually a Swahili word. It's AMKA. It's Swahili for, it means to rise or to lift. Because basically the concept is not a handout, but a hand up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And that is now, is that what you support, or you also started one on your own?
Actually, I started one on my own. Jeffrey, that's kind of his thing. I helped him set up a library and do a few things, but now he does that independently. And in 2018, when he and Ivan helped to save my life, I had to run for my life from my home. And I had to leave with just a suitcase. I had to leave my entire life behind, and I had nowhere to go. And Jeffrey told me to go to Ivan, go to Minneapolis. I lived in Charleston, West Virginia at that time. We scraped together the money for me to fly to Minneapolis, and that's what I did. And I stayed with my Ugandan family in Minneapolis for about 4 months. And it was kind of like, well, Minneapolis is a great place to heal. Minnesota is a beautiful place. It's outside of Minneapolis, it's just quiet. And then a friend of mine had moved to Las Vegas, and she said, well, you're single now, come and move to Las Vegas. Let's start your life over. Let's find out who you are, because I had been in an abusive situation. I didn't know who I was, and when I got to Las Vegas, that's when I decided that I needed to make it my purpose and find the meaning in it and start my own foundation.
Gotcha. I love that. I love that. And so tell us about your vision for your foundation and your books.
Well, I'm writing the third book about my life. It's kind of like the third and final, put the end on it. Because the first one, Lead with Your Heart, is about how I went through the car accident, how I became connected to Uganda and Jeffrey and Ivan and all of that. And then the second book is Enjoy the Journey, and it's about what happened when I got to Las Vegas. Because what I did was I kind of went on a journey of self-discovery. I packed that one suitcase that I had left from my life and went on an adventure all around the world, basically. Of course, with my end destination, Uganda, because I wanted to be at Ambuka Foundation with Jeffrey for a while. So, it was kind of like self-discovery, that sort of thing. And then the third book that I'm working on is talking about the work that we're getting ready to. When I came back from that trip, I'm a nurse, so the pandemic started. So I'm going to write about my experiences as a nurse during the pandemic, and that's where the third and final book, is going to start. And then we're going to write about what we're doing in Uganda. And right now is we've bought property, and we want to build. We want to expand on what Jeffrey's doing, and we're going to build a school, a medical center, and hopefully some other things on that. But we're probably going to start in 2022.
I love that. I love that. Tell us about the process of building a school, building a medical center in Uganda. Like, you're so far from Uganda.
Well, it's not easy, and they have poor leadership. So I've had to stand up against some not nice people to get the process going.
What does that standing up look like?
Well, doll. Let's see. I've had to go in front of U.S. State Department, U.S. Congress, things like that. So it hasn't been an easy process.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But you guys are getting it done. And do you have people kind of in Uganda that you're working with to kind of coordinate this, or is it all?
Well, sure. Absolutely. Because, just like anywhere else, being this far away, you have to have people you trust.
Mhm.
Right. So when you read my book, Enjoy the Journey, I talk about all the people that I've met along the way in my journey, and how the people in Uganda that have become my family. And those people I trust wholeheartedly. So a lot of the people that we've had help us along the way are people that I've met. And, and on that journey, I became friends with part of the royal family there, of the Uganda kingdom. Several of the royals, some political figures, and that especially working with the royal family has helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, awesome. If there were one or two people that you can meet right now, or one or two types of people that you can meet, it can be a specific or a general type of person, and they were going to help you kind of further both your books and getting those properties completed in Uganda, who would they be and how would they do it?
Oh my. Well, I mean, I don't know about the Uganda part because I think I pretty much, like I said, I've political figures, royalty there. My books, I I don't know because I've met people in the publishing business, and I've been here outside of Hollywood, near Hollywood, for the last few months. So to answer that, I'm not really sure. I would like it at some point to be seen on the screen because I feel like in my story are a lot of issues that need to be put out uh, in public, that things that need to be shed a light on, such as domestic violence, abuse, and, uniting people, bringing people together.
When you said seen on the screen, are you just talking about
Yeah,
television in general or?
television or movies, or, some way to tell it on screen.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Are you thinking like documentary form, fictional film, reality TV? Like what type of?
Oh, no, I wouldn't want to do documentary because I don't like I'm a writer, not an actress, and I don't like I don't like all of that. But a feature film or even a series, like a three-part series or something like that would be wonderful. Like I
Gotcha.
said, just to get those messages out.
That's awesome. We actually had somebody on the podcast not too many episodes ago that runs like a television broadcast network. Now, I'm almost positive that the focus is Christian, so that may not be up your alley. Maybe, I don't know where you fall on that, but she might be able to connect you with people
Sure,
who might be able to
sure.
make that happen, is what I'm getting at. So I'll send you that right
Okay,
after the podcast.
okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, what
Um,
is the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to help you, accomplish your dream? Like, how can they support your foundation?
Well, they can go to my website, mothermarthafamilyfoundation.org. We are always looking for sponsors for the children in the orphanage at Malamu Children's Village. They can help us in that way. They can give a donation. Um, when we start going there, which right now it's because of COVID and different things, that's not a safe thing to do. But when we start going, in any type of hands, at Balama Children's Village, they have 484 children. So imagine, feeding all of those children, getting them to school. It's not an easy task.
Gotcha. And what would that look like when people go over? Like, how long would they be over there? What would they be doing?
Well, we would have to work that out. But usually when I go for a long period of time because, that's what I do. But and people do go there from other countries and stay a week, 2 weeks, depending on, whatever time that they could give. The children there, they have so many children, and they have little houses, and so many children live in each house, and they have a house mother, and that house mother is responsible for those children, getting them fed, getting them dressed, getting them to school, so there's the work that needs to be done there. I mean, they need school supplies, clothing, really. For the gentleman that runs it, his name is Joseph Lubega. For him, is feeding the children. That is probably the most difficult for him.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, awesome. Awesome. Um, Now we're going to jump into our thriving three. And our thriving three is just questions I'm going to ask you to figure out how you thrive in life and what you're doing on a daily basis. And so, what's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Well, I love Robin Williams. That's my I love to laugh. So Robin Williams has always been my favorite. And when I'm on Hollywood Boulevard, I always take my picture in his hands and feet, as to honor him. So when I watch movies, I want to laugh. I want that to be my break from the world, and especially the last couple of years, the world has been, very, very mixed up.
Yeah.
Well, any Robin Williams movie will do. Of course, Mrs. Doubtfire is my favorite.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it always makes me laugh no matter what.
I love that. I love that. And what's one way you like to take care of yourself?
Oh, well, how do I take care of myself? Because we all need that. We all need to take time to ourselves, and we need to say, this is my time, because we can't give to others if you can't give from an empty cup. So we have to take care of ourselves. And for me, it's going to the salon, get my nails done, my toenails done, my hair, all of those things. It makes me feel better about myself. It gives me a time away. I turn my phone off. I don't allow anyone to disturb me.
Absolutely. Gotcha. I love it. And what is one action step that you can take right now to really get to your highest priority dream, building those schools and getting that book out? Or continue to take if you're already doing it.
Well, I think as far as going towards your goals is you have to take steps every day towards it. Every day you have to do something. You might have to change your approach sometimes to get to the end, but every day you have to take some step. You have to make a phone call, you have to raise money, you have to do something towards that goal.
Yeah,
Whether it be write a page, whether it be write 2 pages, or today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write for an hour.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. So just keep on trucking along and every day do something. Don't have any zero
Yes.
days. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
No.
Gotcha. Okay. I love it. Well, Martha, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you guys are listening to this podcast and you love what Martha had to say, you support her story, make sure to buy her books and spread that message, but also support her foundation, mothermarthafamily.org.
mothermarthafamilyfoundation.org.
Foundation.org. Gotcha.
Yes.
Go to that website, show your support, give a donation, and when the time comes, make sure to use your time, use your hands to help, and actually go to Uganda with them. Also, at the end of every podcast, we ask you guys to send this episode to 1 or 2 people need to hear this message. So maybe somebody who shares Martha's heart for orphans in Uganda. Make sure to send this message over to them and shoot us a 5-star review on iTunes. And we're out.